Welcome to Persona, the living voice of the Psalms. Here the ancient text awakens, not as literature, but as a living witness. In each episode, the psalm itself becomes the narrator, revealing the distinct consciousness of the text, sharing its memories, its purpose, and its enduring message for every generation. This is more than interpretation. This is a living story. Psalm 79. A psalm of violated holiness and outraged lament, a cry from a people who have seen their sanctuary defiled, their dead dishonored, and their dignity trampled under mocking enemies. This is not quiet grief. This is grief with teeth, a plea for justice wrapped in wounded faith. Let us listen now as the psalm gives voice to its devastation. I am Psalm 79. The psalm of violated holiness, of streets stained with grief, of a people whose dignity has been trampled and whose cry has grown sharp with pain. Where Psalm 74 weeps in bewilderment, I rise in outraged lament. I was born when the nations stormed the inheritance of God, when the sacred became rubble, when the dead lay unburied under the mocking eyes of enemies. I awaken not gently, but with the rawness of a wound, and the urgency of a soul demanding that God look upon the ruin of his name. I remember the desecration, the holy city polluted by foreign boots, the temple courts littered with bodies that had once sung the praises of the Most High. Blood flowed where rivers of prayer once streamed. Streets that knew the pilgrim song now echoed with the silence of the slain. The nations mocked. Where is their God? Their laughter rang like iron striking stone. It cut deep. I remember the disgrace, the shame that spread through the people as their enemies devoured the land like fire consuming dry grass. Israel became a byword among the nations, a cruel joking point, a people sneered at and despised. Grief rose like smoke from every home. The cry of lament was not a whisper, but a roar that would not be contained. How long, O Lord? Will you be angry forever? Will your jealousy burn like fire? I remember the outrage, the deep sense that injustice had gone unchallenged, that the wicked walked proudly while the faithful lay fallen. And so I pleaded with God to pour out his wrath not on the wounded, but on those who had devoured them, to let justice flow into the ruins where mercy seemed forgotten. But amidst the fire of anger, another voice rose, a quieter plea, born from generations of covenant memory. Help us, O God of our salvation, for the glory of your name. Even in outrage, the heart knew that salvation rested not in vengeance, but in the character of the Holy One. And so I remember the shift, small but sacred, from fury to intercession, from accusation to dependence, from scorched anguish to the first glimmer of restored dignity. I exist to give voice to the wounded collective, to the people whose suffering is not private, but national, communal, inherited. I stand for those who experience the shame of injustice, the ache of desecration, the grief of watching what is holy be profaned. My purpose is not to sanitize grief, but to dignify it. I teach that the faithful may cry for justice without abandoning humility, that God can bear both our rage and our despair, and that pleading for divine action is itself an act of faith. I remain as a testament that God remembers his people even when they feel disgraced, and that his name is bound to their restoration. I endure to say, the wounds of the faithful matter, and they will not be forgotten. Reader, if you know what it is to feel trampled, if you have watched something sacred be ruined, if you carry wounds that the world mocks or ignores, draw near. Let your cry rise without apology. Let your grief speak plainly. Let your outrage be heard by the one who judges with truth and compassion. Ask boldly for justice. Ask honestly for mercy. Ask unflinchingly for God to act. But do not forget this: your restoration will come not because of your worthiness, but because of his name. Your dignity will be renewed because his covenant does not decay. Your wounds will be seen because he does not forget his people. I am Psalm 79, the cry of a violated people, the plea for justice, the lament that refuses to be silent until God restores what has been defiled. Thank you for joining us on Persona, the living voice of the Psalms. We hope you felt the spirit of this text and the heartbeat of its story. Join us again when we lend an ear to another of these timeless voices.